Hey everyone, welcome to a special bonus episode of Locked On Lakers. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers have their center. They will bring in DeAndre Ayton fresh off the buyout market, a 2-year deal. Plenty to break down. Next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how, where you get your podcasts. This one's always free and never behind paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can hang out with over 35,000 subscribers, Andy, who are pleased the Lakers got their man. Some people don't necessarily like their man, but their man is better than no man. I think DeAndre Ayton, not a terribly large surprise. Was expected, I think, in most circles to end up with the Lakers, and that is exactly what happens after he clears waivers on Wednesday afternoon. 2-year deal. The second year is a player option worth a little over $18.5 million. It's an interesting time. Like, you look at the reaction to this signing, Andy, and it is all over the place. And I personally think the Lakers win out here. They do as well as certainly could be expected, particularly as well as could be expected without actually giving up any players in return. But what is your reaction now that DeAndre Ayton is going to be the starting center for the Lakers next year?
It's a high upside move that I like. Does it come with some risks? Of course, he's going to be the best, in all likelihood, center on this roster, and it is a position of dire need. And if for a variety of reasons that we'll get into a bit on this show, and then obviously the full show coming up later today that we're going to record, we're going to dive even deeper into this. But my guess is DeAndre Ayton is going to be depended on for a lot on this team. And we saw the limitations, particularly in the playoffs last season, what happens when you do not have reliable big man play of any kind. But that being said, there's a reason he's considered a high upside flyer. He averaged 14 points, 10 rebounds, 3 on the offensive glass, which is important. A little under 2 assists a game. And he has shown at times some ability to play make, block a game. We'll get into some of his numbers, but let me tell you something. Insofar as the part of the job description where you are supposed to rise up, grab the lob that Luka or LeBron just threw you, and throw the thing down through the hoop with tremendous force, DeAndre Ayton's really good at that. Like, he's really, really good at that. And he fills some needs desperately missed last season with the Lakers once Anthony Davis was moved for Luka. Again, we will get into all of the risks and the red flags and the reason that DeAndre Ayton was even available in the first place. But in terms of high upside plays, realistically speaking, the Lakers had no other avenue even close to this opportunity.
It is, I think you're touching on something really important here. The comparison point that Lakers fans need to make here is not between DeAndre Ayton and the ideal center that you could get, some top 5 starting center, or Walker Kessler to come in at age 23 and all that kind of. That's not the comparison. The comparison is DeAndre Ayton versus what they had last year after the Anthony Davis trade, and Ayton is light years better than Jackson Hayes. There's just no, I get the concerns about his attitude. I get the concerns about, being on time for flights and, being, not able to navigate a frozen driveway in Portland, and all of these things that have been part of the DeAndre Ayton
To
experience.
be fair,
over
he
the
grew up
last
in the
few seasons.
Bahamas. Like there was not a lot of experience growing. Like Brian and
That's
I grew up
true.
in St. Louis. We were equipped when it came to, hey, we need you in a pinch to shovel this driveway quickly so we can get you to school. Like DeAndre Ayton,
Get a snowplow guy. You know, there are ways to handle this problem.
yeah, he went from the Bahamas to Phoenix. Like he didn't know how to do this.
That's true. He is, even with all of those things, even if he fixes none of his shortcomings from an attitude standpoint, he is still a significant upgrade over Jackson Hayes. I mean, he just is. And, you know, Jackson Hayes is not even close to a starting caliber center. He's really, I think in most cases, an adequate backup. And on most good teams would be your third center.
Yeah.
And, you know, so taking Ayton and plugging him into that, because it's not just the lob finishing that you mentioned, Andy. Ayton is very good at a lot of things that the Lakers need a center to be good at. He is a good offensive rebounder. He is a good screen and roll player. He is he is very specifically good at skill sets the Lakers were missing. Two big shortcomings are the abilities, reliability, availability. If he didn't have those problems, the Lakers wouldn't have access to him because he wouldn't have been bought out by Portland. But as a talent upgrade, even before you consider how much better and easier his life is going to be with Luka, LeBron, and Reaves feeding him the ball, it is a significant upgrade, even if he fixes nothing about what has been sort of the marks against him as a player, particularly in his time in Portland. He's still.
And look, obviously you're cutting out a little bit, but obviously there's no way to know right now if DeAndre Ayton is going to adjust the attitudinal issues that were an issue in Phoenix. They were reportedly an issue in Portland. Just general idea that DeAndre Ayton and motor and desire, professionalism, just the wanting to get the most out of himself as a player. There's no way to know right now whether or not the Lakers are going to be able to get the best out of him. I mean, it helps to have somebody like LeBron around who demands a certain amount of accountability from his teammates, and rightly so. It helps to have somebody like Luka, who, for all the questions about his own conditioning and his own dedication to that part of being a professional athlete. And it's kind of funny because they're both repped by Bill Duffy. So it feels like Bill Duffy has a type among clients, like in terms of those specific things. But Luka's teammates have, at least from everything I've heard and observed, found the time with him very productive, and they've found him fairly inspirational on the court in terms of, he makes my life easy. He makes me look good. I want to be a part of that. But also, assuming DeAndre Ayton cares about having a career moving forward, and also having a career that pays him even remotely what he's been open about wanting to make, this is like the last stop saloon for DeAndre Ayton. If this does not work out, he'll make like $16 million over the next 2 seasons. And then he might make $16 million over the next 5. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, it really could turn into that. And yeah, he's already made about $200 million. So maybe that doesn't motivate him. But assuming he does not want to become a number one.
I would be satisfied. I might retire on that.
Bro, I'd have already quit
right.
like 5 years ago. But assuming he does not want to be a 27-year-old or so former number 1 overall pick, already on league minimums, this is his last shot, because everybody's going to be watching on the Lakers. So this is it.
It's just one of these things where the first, this is an enormous gift to the Lakers offseason. The fact that they were able to go out and add this person, into the free agent pool, and do that. It was an unexpected thing, because you look at, a guy like Brook Lopez, terrible fit, good player still, but terrible fit, I think, for what the Lakers were trying to do. And they could have made it work, and Brolo would have done good stuff, but it's not a good fit. You look around, and Luke Cornett was $11 million. DeAndre Ayton is better than Luke Cornett. There's just this is as good of an ending to finding a starting center. And again, when you aren't giving up any players, and that's the big thing. We're talking about a guy who's never averaged fewer than 10 rebounds a game and is pretty bankable for 14 to 18 points a night. He'll block you a shot. He'll do all that stuff. Like, if he plays 65 games for the Lakers this year, it's going to make a significant difference. He's not as good as Anthony Davis, but they didn't have access to Anthony Davis. Virtually very few players are as good as Anthony Davis. And so we told people for Wednesday's show, it's like, as the temperature was starting to boil around what the Lakers were doing, or really more specifically not doing, you have to let things finish. There was still a very good chance that Ayton will end up a Laker. That has happened. They are still reportedly trying to go after Al Horford as the backup. That would be a great conclusion. DeAnthony Melton, they can split up. They still have that biannual exception. They can split up into two
still
players.
make trades.
Right. They can spend it on one player. They can actually trade into the biannual exception as if it was a trade exception. I learned today that's something that you can do. So the Lakers are going to add one or two more players. They will probably swing a trade. And so I'll say it again, if you come out of this free agent period, given the money they had to spend, with Ayton, LaRavia, and Horford, or Ayton, LaRavia, and Melton, maybe one more player if Melton doesn't cost you the whole thing, that's a good outcome for the amount of money that they had to spend.
Absolutely.
So we will, of course, keep an eye on the rest of the day. The Lakers, this could shake a few things loose for what the Lakers do over the course of the rest of Wednesday, certainly into Thursday, the rest of the week, going into the 4th of July holiday. But we will be back for more analysis later on. But before we leave, Andy, we have to tell people about this.
Well, that Monarch Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Not DeAndre Ayton, that's for sure. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track, except again for DeAndre Ayton. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. Monarch Money, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you can stop just managing money, start building wealth. You can, instead of juggling multiple apps, use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, even plan long-term goals. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever, because you can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year.
All right. We'll see everyone with a full show for Thursday.